Hi, welcome back to my channel, Our Blissful Chaos. Today I'm going to talk about my journey into homeschooling, where I started, what made us decide to do it, and all the bumps, bruises, and successes I've had along the way. So because I've been doing this for so long, I'm going to break this video up into 3 parts. That way it's, not a super long video. So I'm going to start with our initial decision to homeschool and, what led us to that, the resources I found and what I used, and just my experience with the whole process. So to start off, we decided when Connor was like around 2 years old that we were going to homeschool. And that was because we lived in an area where the schools were not very good at all. And we had no thoughts of moving. So we're like, okay, we'll just homeschool. And I went to Barnes & Noble and I picked up a copy of The Well-Trained Mind. I'm sure many of you homeschoolers out there are familiar with this book. It's a great resource. And I read through it like cover to cover. And I was so inspired and excited to start. Granted, he's only 2, but I was like, you know what? I got this. It's going to be so easy. And time came on. We moved when he was 3, and we ended up in an area with great schools. And for a brief time, I was like, okay, we'll send him to school. We ended up sending him to a preschool program just to give it a try. Up until this point, Connor had only really been around adults, and we were like, okay, well, let's get him around some kids. And it was an okay program. He did all right, but it seemed like any sort of academics that he had learned, like he was kind of already reading by the time he was 3, and basic math. And when I pulled him out of that, it seemed like he forgot everything. It was really weird. And thankfully, I had a friend who also homeschooled. She was the wife of my husband's coworker, and we really bonded. We had kids the same age, and she was a fantastic homeschooler. So she took me to park days. I got to see other homeschoolers out in the world. And so I'm like, okay, I can do this, right? I have the book, so it'll be a breeze. We started in September, the month before he was going to turn 5. And I got my book out. I was like, okay, I know what to do. And you guys, I'm sure, it was not as easy as I thought it would be. Teaching a child to read and basic math was kind of boring because you have to repeat yourself over and over and over. And I was completely disillusioned to the idea that I got this. And we struggled a lot. Connor was kind of resistant to the whole learning process. I was very set on following this ideology, this teaching philosophy of classical education. And I ended up setting up a bell schedule, just like public school, because that's what I knew. And so that was my idea of what homeschool is like. It didn't work. It was a disaster. And honestly, I just thank my friends for letting me know it doesn't have to be this way. Like, you don't have to spend from 8 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon filling the hours with teaching. Like you can be done in an hour. And to me, I was like, but that's not how it is in school. And so I worked for probably that first year trying to model what it was like in public school. It failed. And shortly after, I got pregnant with our 3rd. And when I'm pregnant, you guys, everything goes on hold. I have horrible pregnancies, and so we just stuck with super basics of let's watch The Magic School Bus, or let's watch Liberty Kids, because I'm just so sick during these times that everything else gets put on hold. So that's kind of what it was for the whole 9 months, pretty much. I would have good days, and that's when I would get together with my friends, and we would do co-ops where mostly they would, handle the teaching side of it. Honestly, guys, thank God for friends. If you can find a good group, if you have friends, then do meetups. It is so much fun for you to talk to another adult during the day, because that can also feel like something you never do, and also like to have your friend or have your kids play with friends. So my friends saved me during my pregnancies. I had another one after my third, and trying to squeeze in school was a struggle I had. I had guilt because I wasn't teaching, I wasn't sticking with the plan. I think the only thing that was consistently done was history and math. Mainly math, because my husband taught him how to do math in like 2 hours, where I'd been trying for a couple years and it just wasn't clicking. And Gavin came downstairs. He happened to be home that day, and he came and he taught him math in a couple hours. It was phenomenal. But finally, after my fourth baby, I'd relaxed a little bit, thanks to the advice of my friends who would say they'll get it eventually. And I had 3 kids, 3 and under. So we had basically a newborn. I had a 1.5-year-old and I had a 3-year-old. So you can imagine the chaos my life was. So I'm like, I need some structure. I need something to make it feel like I'm learning, to make it feel like he's learning, that we're doing something during the day. I don't know if you've been there with that feeling of, am I doing enough? Am I covering enough? And I've been there so many times, especially in those early years. And what I've learned over these many years doing this is that for my boys especially, and I've had friends tell me this, something about boys, they're not really ready to learn until they're 9. And I was like, well, that's way too late to start. Like, that's crazy. They need to be reading by 5, 6, right? Because that's what is happening in public schools. And I always had this pressure. I don't know why, now that I think back, to always keep up with public schools. And I know I'm not the only one, because I've talked to many homeschool moms, and it's like this weird pressure to get it all done, to keep up. But knowing that we were going to homeschool for the long haul, I don't understand why I put that pressure on myself. But after I had my fourth, I needed that structure, and I felt Connor needed that structure. So that summer of 2013, I learned about classical conversations, and I got the foundations curriculum, and I went through it kind of loosely over the summer with him. And by this time, from 2009 when we started to 2013, I had moved from super rigid to semi-relaxed. And I really enjoyed the classical conversations curriculum. He enjoyed it. We would make up our own songs, and he actually really memorized everything really quickly. So by the time the class started in September, he knew all the stuff from memory work. His problem, however, was he hated being in front of a group. And I realized that it was a skill he needed to work on, but as sensitive as he was, I didn't want it to interfere with the learning he was having. So we finished out the year with classical conversations, and shortly after that, we moved into a fifth wheel. So I am going to wrap it up for this part. This is part 1, and I will be back next week with part 2 of homeschooling while we were in a fifth wheel and going through a detox. So I hope you guys found some encouragement with this video. I hope you enjoyed watching it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.